Hi, good afternoon, and welcome everyone to the Pregame Cheat Sheet. I'm Darren Smith along with Steve Walls, who is live in the press box in Denver, Colorado, as the Kansas City Chiefs get ready to take on the Denver Broncos. Late afternoon matchup on CBS. Kickoff is at 3:25. Steve, your initial thoughts on this matchup? I know I don't know if you switched your mic or whatever, but you got the noise coming through the background again. But want to get your initial thoughts on today's matchup between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Denver Broncos.
When you think about just it's unseasonably warm here in Denver. It's almost 73 degrees, no wind, sun is shining. I think it's going to be a great atmosphere for a football game.
Of course, the Chiefs, the line has moved from 2.5 to -2.5 to now -4.5 for the Kansas City Chiefs. Of course, they will be without Josh Jacobs. I'm sorry, without J.K. Dobbins for the remainder of the season, as he's going to have season-ending surgery on his foot. Give a quick shout out to Miss Nina Howard, who's watching us live on the streams today. Steve, when you look at this matchup, it's very important, obviously, that Kansas City wins this game. They've had initial opportunities over the last couple of weeks to kind of close the gap between them and Denver and the Los Angeles Chargers. The the Chargers are, well, the Jacksonville Jaguars are actually doing their job. They're beating right now beating the Los Angeles Chargers for Kansas City. So Kansas City, of course, needs to come out, put in the work today against the Denver Broncos, who are 8-3. I think they're 8-2. Kansas City's 5-4. With this win, Kansas City can close the gap down to 1.5 games between them and the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, man. We've heard it a few times this season. Must win games, and today is definitely one of those must wins. And if you listen to all of the players, throughout this week, it seems like they have the same message written on the board in the locker room or something, because they all said the same things. It's like, no, we're taking it game by game. Every game is important. Things like that. So I don't know if it's smoke and mirrors or what, but I think deep down they know that today is very important.
I think it's more than smoke and mirrors, Steve. I think when you look at it, time is not on their side. The amount of games left is not on their side as well. So they have to start, trimming the fat between them and, again, like I said, the Chargers. The Chargers are 2 games ahead of them, along with the Broncos, 2.5 games. So the
Mhm.
Chiefs have to win these division games. Actually, they have to win out in the division to win the title and get a home game. But also, you want to try to put yourself in position for seeding, especially when you have the Indianapolis Colts coming in next week. So, a lot is at stake for the Chiefs in today's game.
Yeah, I mean it's uncharted territory. But the best teams always show up when they need to, right? Like you have some of those games early in the season when, I mean, you look at Jacksonville, a game that they definitely shouldn't have lost. You look at the Bills game that they let slip away, and it's some of those games. I mean, you can even say the Chargers' first game of the season where the word was lack of energy. And so when you think about those games, when on paper this team is much better than those teams. Now it's kind of you got to make up some ground, and today is a great day to start.
Of course, I'm coming to you live from one of the 5 locations, the Gates Barbecue. I'm over actually by 40 Highway by the stadium. So if you're in the area, you want to stop in and say hello, you can do that. Of course, Steve is once again in Denver, sitting in the press box. Steve, looking at this matchup, Kansas City owns the series against the Denver Broncos, 73-58. However, Denver has won 2 of the last 3 games, even though the last game that they beat Kansas City in, none of the starters played in that game. Of course, the Chiefs had already locked up home field advantage throughout the playoffs. But Andy Reid, his entire record is 278 and 150 against the Broncos. He's 18-8, and but when you look at this game, Patrick has only lost against the Broncos only one time in his career.
Yeah.
I think he's got a 14-1 record against them right now. Pretty good overall record last week. 2 weeks ago, he threw for 250 yards against the Bills. Now, both of these teams, Steve, they have top 5, top 6 defenses, scoring defenses, where neither team gives up more than 17 on average, 17 points a game. Are you looking at, or do you feel the Chiefs will have more of a scoring explosion in this game versus what the Broncos give up, especially in the absence of J.K. Dobbins on offense and Patrick Surtain the second on defense.
Yeah, I mean, you look at just the offense as a whole. I feel like they need to kind of rekindle the flame, if that makes sense. Because you think about that first game back when Rasheed Rice came back, and you had all three guys available for the first time ever.
Right.
I mean, they came out and they were rolling, and so I think you kind of got to find that and what a good time to have a bye week at a time that they did when, the team was kind of up and down. And so I feel like once you find that and get into that rhythm, because this is definitely a rhythm team where, once it starts clicking, they start having fun. And it seems like, they're unbeatable. And I feel like they've got to get back to that.
Steve, when you look at today's game, look, one of the things that's going to be important, and we got to say, Jalen Moore is not going to be playing in today's game. He's inactive. So in place, it looks as though Josh Simmons, after his 4 week absence, is going to be back in the starting lineup. How important? How important is it going to be for Kansas City to not only, put Josh Simmons back in there, but we've seen what the Broncos have done the last couple of games with their defense as they've been able to get people to rush the break.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's gonna start today. We'll see. But I mean, he's had 4 or 5 weeks off, so it's tough to just go from that amount of time being off to just say, "Hey, I'm going to be a starting left tackle in, in the National Football League." Like, that's a tough task. But again, I mean, they had a week off where he was able to get back into the building and kind of get reacclimated with things, and let's let's not forget he is still a rookie. Um, it's really tough to kind of to do that in just in general at the beginning of the season. We've never taken a NFL snap before and just kind of step in.
Steve Walls and Darren Smith here with you with the pregame cheat sheet. Steve, what we're gonna do? We're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna take a break right quick. I know they're doing something in the press box here. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll look at the offense for the Chiefs against the defense for this Denver Broncos team. We'll be right back after this timeout. Darren Smith. We're back. Darren Smith and Steve Walls. Steve, glad everything worked out well for everybody in the press box during this time. But let's look at today's game. Kansas City Chiefs offense. Offensively, what do you see that they need to do against this Broncos defense?
Well, I'm gonna give you my X factor early, man. I think it's this offensive line. I feel like you've got a very
Oh,
strong
geez.
defensive line for the Denver Broncos team, and you mentioned it. Josh Simmons coming back. Some of I mean, you got Trey Smith's back that had issues, and they're coming off this bye week. So I think it's gonna be definitely this offensive line that has to show up today.
And actually, to follow up on that, you had Jawan Taylor, kind of leave the Bills game
Hmm.
with his knee as well. So looks like he'll be back and ready to go in today's matchup as well.
Yeah, yeah, and it's gonna be a test. For this offense, like I said, they've kind of showed spurts, and that's really been one of I think the things that folks have kind of been scratching their heads about is like you've got all these weapons, you've got arguably the best quarterback in the league. Why are you guys not just been able to score at will? And I get it's the NFL, but we didn't come up with it. You talked about they should be scoring no less than 30 points. They should not look like they're struggling, and they did look like that versus the Bills.
I mean, and when you look at it right now, I mean, if people are watching the game and not watching us for whatever reason, I mean, it's 37-32.
Hmm.
Now right now the Bills just got through scoring with Tampa Bay, but Tampa Bay's put up 32 points. Now the
Yeah,
defense is giving up 37. So it's like,
yeah.
what's going on, and they've been able to run on the Bills like other teams have, except for Kansas City, who decided not to run the
Hmm.
football when they had opportunities against the Bills. So,
Yep.
so we talk about your X factor being the offensive line. Yeah, you kind of cheated because that's where I was. That's where I was going to go. But for me, I would say my X factor on offense it's going to be Patrick Mahomes, and I'm going to use one of your things because when it comes to Patrick, against they've been able to get to Patrick these last couple of games with just the
Hmm.
front four, and we've seen again talked about earlier. We've seen just how tenacious the linebackers are for the Broncos, along with the defensive linemen. I mean, they've been able to get after quarterbacks like it's nobody's business. Nick Bonito has 9.5 sacks so far, and he ranks third in the NFL. So, to me, Patrick, what he didn't do in Buffalo, which is run the football, we
Hmm.
might see him. We might see him scramble a little bit more in today's game to avoid getting sacked and avoid potential loss of downs and anything like that. Now, Isaiah Pacheco is not going to be playing in today's game, so I'm interested to see what type of what type of impact Kareem Hunt is going to do, and I see Elijah Mitchell is
Hmm.
also on the active roster in today's game, so he might get a chance to join in. So I'm interested to see again how Patrick in the absence of Patrick Sertan, attacks their defense. It attacks the edges. So I don't know who's going to be guarding Rasheed Rice or Xavier Worthy, but I expect either one of those receivers, if not both, to have big games today.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to use his legs. We we talked about that last week. I mean, he early in the season he was the leading rusher in a couple games, and
Three
even
games.
you said, yeah, and even you said, and Patrick acknowledged that even though they may have won, he doesn't need to be the leading rusher,
No, no, no.
right?
They've lost every game. He's been the leading
Oh
rusher.
yeah, he's that. Yeah, so he said it hasn't panned out too well when he's the leading rusher. So. Uh, he today, I feel like he's going to have to. Of course, they have Clyde. You talked about Elijah Mitchell. So to me, he doesn't need to be the leading rusher today, but if he has to, and yeah, because that's the thing. Like we talked about, even if the wide receivers are guarded downfield, he can figure out a way to use his legs.
And Travis Kelsey looks to be moving around pretty good. I've seen little bits and pieces of clips of him running around on the field. So looking for him to make an impact
Of
in
course.
today's game as well. Steve, so X factor for you on defense for the Kansas City Chiefs and overcoming, and actually keeping Bo Nixon and company out of the end zone.
I'm gonna say it's the defensive line, man. Yeah, a lot of folks are
Oh, you
calling
just
out
ain't
Chris
you
Jones.
just ain't doing no individual players.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
Okay.
it's the defensive line, man, because a lot of folks, and if I have to throw out a player, I'm gonna say Chris Jones, because a lot of folks are calling him out. A lot of people are like, they've got to see
That's what I did.
95, and I'm talking about on national, broadcast. So, and I'm sure he hears that. He no matter what we talk about it all the time. It's like these guys say, "Oh I don't watch social media, or I don't
No,
read
they pay
or
attention.
watch TV." Oh, they definitely pay
Yeah,
attention. They hear it. They hear
yeah.
everything people are saying. So, um, he's definitely he's definitely got to show up today.
Well, Chris Jones, that's a good because that's of course that's who I've been going with the last couple of weeks because he's been out of sight, out of mind. So,
Hmm.
but I'm gonna go with our guy Trent McDuffie, and I say Trent in today's game because again, without the threat of J.K. Dobbins in the backfield. Now, granted, they do have playmakers that can still R.J. Harvey is pretty decent as a rookie running back, so I'm not going to slight him at all, but when it comes to threats, I'm interested to see how Trent matches up against Cortland Sutherland. He's essentially their big play receiver, someone who can get the ball to the end zone. Trey Franklin, of
Hmm.
course, a rookie out of I think his second year out of Oregon. I know he's pretty good as well. So I like to see what that matchup on the outside is going to look like against Denver's receivers in today's game. So
Yeah, I
now
like that. I like that too. Because I mean, you think about Trent. We haven't really talked much about Trent this last week. Bo Nix has thrown what 9 interceptions so far this season, um, and so I think today is going to have to be one of those days that they're going to have to get to it, take some chances.
biggest concern for you on offense for Kansas City.
Hmm. Offensive line. I think
Okay.
that's just it. I think it starts there and it ends there, man. Protection of Patrick Mahomes. Now, people won't say this, but I felt like Patrick he looked really I would say they didn't look in sync.
Unsure. Okay.
They didn't look in sync the last game against the Bills, man, and we haven't seen that in quite some time. But he just looked, I don't want to say nervous, but you know how when we were talking about he has the yips, I guess is what they were calling it. He looked like that
Well, mm,
the last game versus the Bills.
yeah, he just didn't look or play like himself. To be quite honest, we're gonna be frank
Yeah,
about it.
yeah.
Um, and, I think for me, my biggest concern offensively is going to go back to Andy Reid and the play calling, and nothing about running the football or anything like that. It's just that I want to make we know when playing the Broncos and more so playing Sean Payton. Payton is going to force the issues. He's going to take some chances on offense, take some chances on defense. He's going to gamble because he wants to get maybe that extra that extra drive, that extra down or whatever it takes to win this game. Because again, they did a really good job in Kansas City last year where they lost the game because the kicker I think missed the kick wide right or something like that or no
That
the
was
Chiefs ended up
blocked.
blocking it. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
blocked. And so I mean they essentially I mean they had a great game plan, but it just didn't pan out at the end of the day. So what is your final score, or how do you feel that today's game is going to end?
hmm. I think the Chiefs have to come out and score fast, man. But I do feel like it's going to be one of those days where you're going to see this offense clicking, and it's going to be another head scratcher. Like, where was this 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, so I think it's going to. If I'm throwing out a score, I would say 31-14 Chiefs.
That sounds similar.
Because you got to,
Sounds eerily
because you got to
similar to
remember,
what I
you got to
said.
remember this Broncos team they've won a lot of close games, and their scores have been what 15, 17.
Yeah,
It was been a lot of low scoring games, but they've been able to pull out the win. So I feel like this team, meaning the Chiefs, need to kind of separate themselves
you know what?
early.
Oh, yeah. So I'm actually going to echo that. I think I had on the show we did earlier this week. I think I had 31-14 or 31-13, something to that effect. That was I think that was before I found out about J.K. Dobbins being out. But to me, here's the thing: Kansas City can't afford to even have the game being close. I mean, because you want to put yourself in a situation where you're going back and forth. It is a division rival. I get that, but you need to put your knowing the importance of what today's game means for you. You as the Chiefs, you can't afford a close game or anything that could essentially go down to the wire and then not end up and you not end up on the right side of the score. So I like Kansas City in this game. I don't think it's going to be close. It wasn't. It shouldn't be close, Steve, because they're without, to me, their best player on offense and their best player on defense. So, and if this is a close game, it's going to be because of the Broncos defense getting after Mahomes and getting to Mahomes because the offensive line is not able to hold up, and Patrick won't have time to get the ball out to the receivers. But I expect Patrick to get the ball out, and I expect everything, saying that we're saying to go the opposite direction. So
Yeah.
I think Kansas City wins this game again. When you look at some of the scores in today's game, Jacksonville has knocked off the Chargers 35-6. So, everything right now, for Kansas City kind of cut into the lead, or cut into the division, they can do that with the win in today's game. So,
Yeah.
Steve, before we get out of here, you want to thank our sponsors?
Yeah, I want to send a quick shout out to my friends over at Dillard's on the Road. So make sure you go check those guys out. My friend Herman Brown, the men's department, he'll take care of you. Whatever you need your game day look like, make sure you go. Make sure you go talk to him at Dillard's on the Rosa. Also, my friends over at Riceman Nissan, man, just south of the airport, where the Sideline Sports Talk and the W Show has partnered with Third and Long Foundation to do um, a holiday food drive, Thanksgiving food drive. So people are definitely in need. We're supporting their 35th annual. We have a box set up at Riceman Nissan. So go and take. We're looking for canned goods, non-perishable food items, all the way up and through next this coming up Saturday. So make sure you go out there and donate at Riceman Nissan, just south of the airport.
All right, and of course, we at the Red Hour will make sure that we're part of that as well. Of course, join us tomorrow night on the Red Hour for myself, Steve Walls, Sean Tyler, and DJ Q from 6:30 to 7:30 as we recap today's game along with other games in the NFL and preview the Monday night game between the Dallas Cowboys and the Las Vegas Rams. I want to thank, as always, Todd White and Todd's Clothiers and Taylor Suits for making sure that I am sharp and dressed accordingly. Also want to thank Gates Barbecue for opening up the door. Steve, they told me to tell you, they got the Bernie fries for you when you get back in town. So don't, don't be afraid to stop in and come get some. So 5 locations. Make sure if you're not already at Gates that you get some either before the game or after the game, along at any of the area 5 locations. So for Steve Walls, you can follow him on social media at Steve Walls KC. I'm Darren Smith. Follow me at Darren Smith NFL. Make sure you tune in after the game. We'll bring you Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes post game press conference after the game, win or lose, and of course, locker room interviews as well. So, for Steve Walls, I'm Darren Smith. Thank you so much for joining us on the pregame cheat sheet. We'll be back in Kansas City at Arrowhead next Sunday at 11 a.m. when Kansas City hosts the Indianapolis Colts. That, of course, is an even bigger matchup than today. So keep it locked in. We'll be back after the game with the post-game press conferences, and we'll see you tomorrow night on the Red Hour. Steve Walls, I'm Darren Smith. We are out.